Once the theatre of NATO's first peacekeeping operation, Bosnia and Herzegovina is now contributing soldiers to international peace support missions abroad. Military observers have served in UN missions in Congo, Darfur and Eritrea. An explosives ordnance disposal unit and an infantry platoon have been deployed in Iraq as part of the multinational coalition. Most recently, in 2009, the country sent officers to support the NATO-led International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan.
That's good, huh? Bosnia contributing to somebody else's security rather than being a consumer of security from NATO or the EU.
We understand the extent of our investment in collective security mechanisms will be rewarded or paid back in terms of our progress towards full-fledged membership of Bosnia and Herzegovina into NATO.
These contributions to international security are important milestones. However, the country needs to increase the pace and scope of reform beyond the defense sector in order to be a credible candidate for membership. NATO is committed to helping Bosnia and Herzegovina achieve this goal by deepening its partnership with the country. Since joining the Partnership for Peace, or PFP, in 2006, Bosnia and Herzegovina has been quick to take up the opportunities on offer for bilateral cooperation with NATO, including expertise and practical support. And as one of the 50 members of the Euro-Atlantic Partnership Council, the country regularly consults and cooperates on defense and security-related matters with all NATO member countries and fellow partner countries. Through the PFP program, NATO continues to support ongoing defense reforms in Bosnia and Herzegovina, including a project to help find civilian jobs for soldiers made redundant as a result of military downsizing. Cooperation is also aimed at developing the ability of the country's forces to participate in international peace support and crisis management operations. As part of this, they've developed a niche capability in the disposal of explosive ordnance such as mines.
During the Bosnian War and afterwards in the demining process, we got high experience and expertise.
While some important challenges remain in the area of defense reform, progress has been good.
Despite all the political trouble we're having here in Bosnia and Herzegovina, defense reform is the one thing that continues to move forward without any significant problem.
But progress in defense reform is not sufficient. Wider reforms and the further strengthening of state-level institutions are needed for Bosnia and Herzegovina to become a fully functioning state and for the country to realize its ambitions to join both NATO and the European Union.
Partnership for Peace, which Bosnia joined in December 2006, meant a lot as a first step towards full-fledged NATO membership, which is the strategic goal of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
The country started an intensified dialogue with NATO on its membership aspirations in 2008, and in April 2010, Bosnia and Herzegovina was invited to join NATO's Membership Action Plan, or MAP.
Dakle, smisao MAP-a je u tome da kroz MAP kao najvišu formu odnosa između partnera i NATO-a se radi direktno prema sticanju kvalifikacija za punopravno članstvo.
However, the Allies attached one important condition to the invitation to join MAP. The country has to make progress on the important but thorny issue of immovable defense property. Only then will the Allies consider the country's first annual national program under MAP.
With regard to Bosnia and Herzegovina, I believe we have reached a turning point. Bosnia is now on track to become a member one day, although important reform requirements must be met before progress is possible.
We still appreciate a huge portion of the job to be done at home.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Security, Ministry of Finance, all these ministries of the government have to be working together to get BIH ready for NATO membership. It's because it's the state of Bosnia and Herzegovina that will join NATO, not the armed forces and the Ministry of Defense.
Ensuring long-term security is the key motivating factor for many people who support the country's aspirations to join NATO.
I think there's a general consensus within the country to join NATO. It's more in the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, less in Republika Srpska, but overall is over 60%.
Bosnia would be part of a bloc, of a wider bloc, in which its neighbors will also join.
The Allies welcome Bosnia and Herzegovina's aspirations to join the alliance.
The integration of new democracies into NATO has not only made the alliance stronger, it has also stabilized Europe and contributed to a safe and peaceful development. I'm very encouraged by the recent developments in the Balkans. My dream will come true if, one day, we could see all countries in the Balkans as members of NATO. They belong to the Euro-Atlantic community.
But before Bosnia and Herzegovina can be invited to join the alliance, the reform process has to move forward, and the allies have to be confident that the country shares alliance values and objectives and can be an effective ally. Unfortunately, in recent years, rising political tensions and ethnic divisions have been undermining the reform process.
Since the general election in 2006, the political situation in this country is very bad.
Over the past few years, Bosnian leaders have failed to agree key reforms to the constitution. Some Bosniak politicians have threatened the abolition of the Serb Republic, and in response, Bosnian Serb officials continue to speak of possible secession from the country.
The country is now facing maybe its biggest challenge since the end of the war as a result of this political deadlock.
Some of the issues that led to the war in the first place in 1992 have not really been resolved.
If we turn Clausewitz upside down and understand that now we have got the politics, which is the extension of war by other means, we may have the best understanding of the major political obstacles we are facing.
Part of the problem is the legacy of the Dayton peace settlement. The structures that it set up have entrenched nationalist divisions and burdened the country with heavy bureaucracy.
The setup that was left by the Dayton Peace Accord, I mean, it was really effectively not functional. It was leaving two almost completely separate countries under one umbrella.
Key task now is whether it's possible to modify Dayton to go in the direction of a better functioning Bosnia. That's the challenge we have, but it's not easy to do.
Meanwhile, Bosnia and Herzegovina is facing other serious challenges.
There's got to be much more clamping down on corruption as well, on money laundering, on parallel structures, on organised crime and so on. Bosnians have got to realise that they have got to help themselves. They've got to catch up. They can't survive indefinitely as a ward of the international community.
And the problem is that nationalist rhetoric is prevailing on all sides still, and that the leaders are not doing enough. And unfortunately, really, very often, petty interests are blocking major reforms.
Ultimately, the country and its peoples need to overcome the past.
Mr. Churchill once said, the Balkans produce more history than they can consume. In other words, the people are totally dominated by past conflicts and the notion that they have to get revenge in the future. Every side has blood on its hands. There were no innocent and no guilty. It wasn't black and white. So I do believe that in terms of education, political responsibility, there is a lot to be done.
The way forward for Bosnia and Herzegovina remains complex, but the country has come a long way since NATO intervened to help end the war.
Bosna i Hercegovina je u 15 godina postigla jako puno. To ne znači da se nije moglo postići više, ali mislim da se postiglo puno. I za 15 godina ja mislim da će Bosna i Hercegovina biti članica NATO-a i Europske unije. Mislim da će to biti jedna stabilna europska demokratija.
NATO stands ready to help Bosnia and Herzegovina to achieve these goals and to build a secure and peaceful future.
Ali moje mišljenje je da se ovdje puno toga uradilo i da se ovdje može živjeti sigurno.
Previše je kriminala, previše je lopovluka, previše je korupcije.
Političare sve napolje da se da mladima da vode ovu zemlju, inače odosmo u vrag.
Mislim da je ulazak u NATO jako važan.
Svi govori o tom famoznom ulasku u Evropsku uniju.
Biće dobro. Ljudi će opet zajedno živjeti.
Nada.
Kad tad će se opet slagati.
Boljitak.